and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me is the maven of magical miscellany herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility of Merchants of Magick, a Seti Watch Tale. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, it is a crunchy roll and write using polyhedral dice. You are the owner of a magic item shop, crafting items and researching spells to sell to the adventurers of the watch. So, Will, how does the game change for two players?
So, for a two-player game, it will determine how many order cards you have in front of you at any given time. For higher player counts, it's less. And for the 1 and 2 player, it's 4 order cards. So this is kind of like, it's kind of like your nanas. They're out there ready to buy from you. And at the end of each turn, they keep moving along. So they will actually move out of your shop. It's not a true bot. It's just a moving target for scoring points.
Yes.
But once they buy what they want, because it may be a magical shield or something, then they're gone.
Yep. So issues in a two-player game, sometimes it can feel like the cards get stagnant because you just can't meet the orders or whatever. And kind of some downside is you won't see as much of the deck.
Yeah, but that's not so much a problem,
Right.
because a lot of this game is timing. You have the characters in front of you, but you're not going to really be filling orders until the third turn of the game.
If you're lucky, you might be able to complete something simple on the second turn, but mostly you won't be starting till the third turn.
Yeah, so half the quarter cards in front of you, you're probably going to ignore right from the start of the game, and you're more focused on the player that's actually to your right, but in a two-player game would be like Sarah.
Right.
I'd be looking at her left 2 cards, she'd be looking at mine, planning for that, so that when she's finally ready to start selling to characters, she has the right customers in front of her at the right time.
Right. So it feels weird to have all these 4 orders in front of you, and you have to ignore half of them because you just won't be able to get going fast enough to meet them. So
but who knows? They might actually come all the way back to you.
But that's one of the weird things, or interesting things in a two-player game, because there's 10 rounds. Each round, one of them moves. Those 2 cards could potentially go back to you if your other player doesn't make them. So it can kind of make up for that. Now, what it does well, though, is that aspect of 4 cards in front of, like for Will, and 4 cards in front of me. It's easier to plan than if you're playing a higher player count. Because if I actually need to look at, like, the next several cards, like in the highest player count, 7 and 8, there's only 2 cards in front of each player. So in that case, I'd be looking at what Will has, but then I'd actually have to be looking at whoever's to his right.
Nanaman.
Yeah, Nanamans, to see what they're doing. And then that distance would be literally hard to see.
Yeah.
What's going on. So it's easier to plan in a two-player.
And play.
Plan and play in a two-player game. It's just tighter. It's less chaotic.
Right.
For all that, though, it's still mostly a multiplayer solitaire game because no one can actually stop you from doing what you want to do on your player board. In other words, if you want to make a shield and you want to make of the dragons, nobody's stopping you from doing it. Now, granted, if you see a shield of the dragons in front of somebody else, it may not come to you.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the gameplay, you have all the freedom in the world to do what you want with your shop.
Yeah.
And throw in the potions that help you modify dice that even just increases what you can do. However, the competition comes from the timing.
Yes.
There are mastery cards that the first to get that level of mastery where you have like so many marks in a given column, then you score the higher points, then it's flipped over. Anyone else who achieves that will get lower points from then on out. So there's that timing. There's the customer's timing. So that's where all the competition is. But when it comes to your shop, no one's going to really mess with you.
Exactly. And so Will just covered most of the other things that is really great at a two-player game. It's a very tactical game. It's not a head-to-head, I'm going to beat you up tactical game. But there's, like he said, a lot of things that you have to get the timing right. So like if I'm doing something and I see it in front of Will, I have to judge, am I going to be able to make that? Is he going to be able to make it before it leaves his store?
Yes.
So there's a lot of timing and tactical decisions to be made there.
Yeah, it's a judging of probability versus figuring out the timing
Yes.
of when things come. So it's I have to outthink you.
Right.
In terms of organization and timing.
Right. I think that pretty much covers the two-player experience. So let's move on to accessibility. So the sheet has very small spaces to write the numbers rolled each round. There's just, in general, a lot going on the sheet. There's a lot of good white or empty space, so things aren't overwhelming. But in general, the font is kind of on the smaller side. The spaces to write are on the smaller side. So there might be some challenges there. The good news is, at least for me, I mean, I have a scanner printer thing, combo. So I was able to scan in the sheet, and then we could enlarge it to print out larger versions of it.
Yeah.
So.
And then moving on to the 10-sided die, it's yellow with white numbers. That can actually be hard to see for some people. The good news is it's a 10-sided die, so if you're a role player, chances are you have plenty of 10-siders around.
Yeah.
Pick out the one that you can see and like the best and throw that in the game, and it works just fine.
And hopefully it's your lucky 10-sider, so it'll roll exactly what you want.
Every single time.
Every single time. All right, so we mentioned the potions, which are used to modify the dice for you. They are different colors. Most of the time, I mean, it doesn't mean anything. However, in the higher player counts, you can choose to make the different colors mean different values so that you don't run out of tokens. They're red, green, and purple, which may not be the best color choices, but the supply is never meant to be limited. So if you don't want to deal with trying to remember the colors mean which numbers, or you can't see the color differences, just get more tokens of something. Yeah. And just add those to the supply, and you'll be fine. I can imagine at the 7 or 8 player count, it might get pretty tight.
Yeah.
Especially if people aren't using them. In a 2-player, you never have to worry about there being not enough potion.
Right.
So.
And they can be all rainbow colored as you like.
Yep. So the good news, that was pretty much all the challenges. What it does right, as much as that sheet is kind of small in the text, it's good contrast. So it's easy to read other than the size of the font. And the cards are also easy to read with the text color and the background color. So
and anytime they use a color, they also incorporate an icon.
Right.
To make it easy, like, oh, that's shocking, and it's that color.
And generally, that's been the great thing about the game. So shocking, it always, somewhere either on the card or where it is on your sheet, it uses the word shocking. It uses a color. And it uses a symbol. So it actually codes each thing 3 times. I mean, except the armor and equipment stuff. But I think it's on the enchantment side. The enchantment side, it uses color and symbols, but it always uses the word. So it's really very accessible. And I guess really the last thing is everything's open information. So if you're having issues with anything for any reason, you can get help. Hopefully somebody else at the table will help you, or you can use your assistive devices, or like I said, especially with the sheet, if it's too small, scan it, print it out larger, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Conclusion.
All right. For a 2-player game, would you recommend?
Yes.
Just a Magic?
Yes. Now we have not played this at the higher player counts. I'm not sure I would ever try 7 or 8 players personally.
Yeah.
I do want to teach this to friends, but we typically only have 1 or 2 other people come over. So I see this could still be good at a 3 or 4 player counts, but honestly, I'm probably going to always prefer this 2 players.
Same. It's definitely a great game at 2 players, and just seeing what the changes would be at different player counts, I'm not sure I would care for that. So 2 players is a nice sweet spot for me, and what I would actually recommend for players to try this out at.
Right. And I've heard the solo is actually pretty interesting. You get 4 cards in front of you and 2 more off to your side. The challenge is when a card leaves to the left, it is gone. You will never get a chance to do it again, but you'll always have 2 off to the side that are the coming towards you type of thing. Like you can see them out the door and they're coming, anyways. So, and you're trying to get a certain score, I think. It's on a scale of how well you do type of thing. So I've heard that that's really fun too.
Yeah. Accessibility.
I would say generally yes. Again, there were a few issues that either you would need to replace the die, print out, scan and print the sheet, or just generally get some help from other people. But I think in general, it does a really good job.
Yeah, accessibility-wise, anything you have a problem with is fairly minor in terms of what needs to be done to help you out. Otherwise, everything is very, very clear.
Yep.
So, accessibility, very good.
Yep.
Well, that will do it for us here at Rolling With Two. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling With Two, that's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And why would you ever merchant with just one when you can be Rolling with Two?